All right, welcome to another episode of the Freezin NFC North Podcast, episode number 38. The Vikings' epic win in Buffalo. Packers spoil McCarthy Lambeau return, and the Lions conquer the Bears at Soldier Field. Plus, Week 11 preview. How's everyone doing?
Doing great.
Excellent. Doing good.
Unreal.
Well, once again, we'll just kind of welcome in Shelby. And as we get started, where can everyone find you?
Shelby Tweten at Twitter and Instagram. Last name is Tweten. People think it's Tweeten, like the word tweetin'. And then Aries Archive. It's the clothing.
All right, and welcome back, Dave, as well. Where can everyone find you?
At Viking Dave 18 on Twitter, and the Fantasy Football Show Once Upon a Sunday.
Awesome. And welcoming back, I think I've had you on a few different times. Gerard from the Seventh Letter. Where can everyone find you?
Find me at Seventh Letter 4 on Twitter. Find me at Seventh Letter on Instagram. Same OG on Facebook. And the Los Angeles to Detroit sports radio show. Me and my boy Rip'em.
Very nice. And welcoming for the first time, MJ. Where can everyone find you?
It'll be at MJ Hurley TDT on Twitter. And you can find link to my website, Third Down Thursdays, on there. Pretty much everything will be on the Twitter bio.
Yeah, and you write for a few different things for the Packers then, correct?
Yes, sir. I write for Game On Wisconsin. I've done a little bit for Primetime Sports Talk in the past, and then for my website as well.
All good stuff. Well, I'm excited for this week, and we're just going to kind of get right into it, and we'll let the Vikings fans take a victory lap. We're going to start with you, Dave, since you were at the game. So talk about that game.
So jealous.
It was
talk
amazing.
about that game, that experience, and that win by the Vikings, and
So-
what it means.
I've never been like emotionally exhausted after a game like I was at the end of that game. Like literally, me, my dad, my brother, my son. I got a buddy who's a Bills fan, and we were like, there was so much up and down in the fourth quarter and overtime. Just like, what the fuck? Literally, like, what the fuck? So like stuff you would never think would happened in that game. Two ridiculous catches. The fumble on the goal line. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before.
Mm-hmm. Never in life.
That's what I'm saying. Like stuff that literally will never happen. It was snowy. Right. That was fun. Just so many emotions. I think, we're down 27-10. I'm thinking the game's, probably you're not going to come back in Buffalo down 27-10 on the road. They get it close. They get stopped at the goal line. They get the fumble. Just so much stuff. I can't even explain it all. It was so hard. It was amazing. It was the best game that I could ever have been at. And even before the game was over, I think right before the fourth down play, or maybe during that drive, I just looked at my dad and my son, and I was like, you know what? I don't care. Obviously I wanted to win, but I said, it doesn't matter if we win this game or not. The fact that we hung with Buffalo on the road, down by 17, this team is real. Like, they're legit. Like, I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not predicting that, but they're going to make some noise. They don't give up. They haven't given up all year. This is like the third or fourth time they've come back from double-digit down to win in the fourth quarter. That's crazy. That doesn't ever happen. We don't ever do that. We usually give up those leads. They fight till the end, and I love that about them. And I don't know. It was just crazy, and I'm hyped for it. You got to be if you're a Vikings fan.
Well, yeah, I mean, Shelby, what were your thoughts then on some of those calls, even on that catch that wasn't really a catch, or it shouldn't have been? What were your kind of thoughts going through as the game was getting towards its end?
Wow, I'm still speechless. Like, I literally can't even comprehend. Like, being there, I can't imagine, but I feel like it probably still feels real because you were there. I have been watching these videos over and over and over. The only thing that's ever come close is obviously the Minneapolis Miracle, but this had so many miracles.
Yeah.
Like, I know my neighbors thought that I was being murdered because I was screaming for literally 20 minutes. Like, once it got to overtime, I sat in like this position over my phone on the floor because I couldn't get my phone, like the game to work on my TV. And then I got superstitious. So I was like, okay, we're winning, so I can't move. So I was like shaking in this position. Like, oh my gosh, it was crazy. The calls, some of these things, I was just like, okay, they're just trying to give them the game. Like, and it's mind-blowing to me just being a Vikings fan my whole life and really seeing this fight that we have. It's been such a joy to be able to watch. Like, obviously I was alive for the 98 season, but my only memory of that is my dad absolutely hating life after the missed field goal. And then in 2009, that was the year that I like actually sat down and like was like, I want to learn football. But this is just, I just feel so blessed to even, like Dave said, I am a Vikings fan at the end of the day, so I can't say that I'm like, we're going to win the Super Bowl. But it's just been so amazing to watch and be able to rep my Viking stuff in LA and no one can tell me shit. But when we were down, hey, I know that you got your hopes up and don't be a hater.
So MJ, you've covered enough games, and obviously this year it's a little bit down with the Packers, but when it's an exciting game like that with the Vikings, how do you maybe as a journalist kind of separate obviously the Packer fandom, your team fandom from that? I mean, just kind of like trying to really find like a story for that.
Honestly, at that point when it gets to a crazy game like that, as a journalist and a fan, I just root for chaos. Like, I just want as many, kind of what she was saying, as many crazy things to happen as possible, because the more crazy things that happen, the more storylines I have. So, I mean, you guys have already outlined it. All of the crazy things that happened in that game. Honestly, I mean, people like saying game of the year and things like that. I really do think that may be one of the best NFL games we'll see in a while. Again, because of things like you don't see a quarterback sneak on the goal line fail like that from a team trying to get out of the end zone. Like, I mean, I've been watching football for a while, and I cannot remember a time where that didn't work. Even though the defense knows it's coming, almost 10 times out of 10, that is going to work. So, I mean, props to Minnesota. I hate saying it, but props to Minnesota for an incredible defensive push there. I mean, it's ironic that they had so many shots at the goal line on the other side and couldn't get it done. And then right away, they were able to make that happen. So from a journalistic and a fan perspective, very entertaining game to watch. I literally tweeted out, I don't want the Packers game to start because I want to keep watching this football game, especially with how Green Bay has been playing this year.
Well, yeah, that's true too.
Oh, sure.
It kind of reminded me of the Herman Edwards, I mean, that you thought that was over. And I remarked to my son sitting on the couch, I said, well, this is over. And he's not yet. And it's just, when you look at that swings, I mean, it was like the Buffalo Chiefs game, kind of back and forth and just that entertaining. Like, as someone on the outside looking in, just a football fan, it was probably better for me because I didn't have a rooting interest, but you're just watching, greatness. And when you look at that, and when you look at kind of, we still have a long way to go in the season, right? But, the Vikings are starting to win these games. They are legit. And I don't know kind of what it'll mean kind of, going forward, but they're starting to win some of these games that they used to lose.
That's 100% true. That's what we've been saying all year. That's why it's different for us, because I mean, even last year, I think we had the most one-score games in the league, and we were on the bad end of most of them. So to be on the good end is a nice change up.
I want to we should probably do some fact checking here, but Tang Yang has some great comments here. Nobody's won the Super Bowl after losing to Kirk in the regular season. That is an interesting stat. I want to see if that's real.
It is. Yeah.
I heard that last year.
Yeah, people have been talking about it for a while. He knocks them off. And I think it is because there's something about like, because not only just that, but anytime a player talks shit about Kirk Cousins the week before, something crazy happens. Like, I hate to say it, but God is on his side. Like, it's so funny because it's true. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, it was a special game. It's been a special season for the Vikings so far, and it's hard as a Bears fan to acknowledge that, but I will do that before I would acknowledge the Packers, and that's, part of my fandom as well. But before we get to the Packers, let's go ahead and so Gerard's seventh letter. What happened? The Lions came back versus the Bears on the road to Soldier Field. What were your thoughts as you kind of watched that game?
Well, I was at work. As you know, I'm a registered nurse. So for some reason, one of my patients in my group was from Michigan, and he had the game on in his room. So I listened to Micro Mike. He has like he kind of does the commentary as he watches the game. I really like his show the best because he's awesome. Like he reminds me of myself watching the game, and he's losing his mind. And then all of a sudden they stopped chasing Justin Fields and just contained him. Mm-hmm. Like I was telling them all game, and I don't know. I figured he would dumb out eventually because he does get it. He fumbled in the first half when he was running, so I'm like, he's still very, very accident prone. So I kind of knew he would dumb out eventually, and he did. He threw that interception. Then he can't throw, so he can't
make him throw. I've been saying this the whole year. Like he's a great athlete.
He got the Justin Fields hate.
He's an amazing athlete. He's doing good things with his legs.
Yes,
that's what Chicago needs to do more of. These design runs, let him do that. But the fact is, he's a lot like Lamar, and Lamar's not a great passer either. Keep him in the pocket. Why do you think in the playoffs the Ravens get beat in the first round every time? Because good defenses come in, they know how to contain these guys. Better than just a regular afternoon game, and they're smart. And nothing against Fields. I think he's amazing athlete. I still don't think he's a great passer and a great QB, but he could develop into that. But I agree completely. Just make him throw, and I feel like you got a really good chance.
That's all we did. That's all we did.
It is hard to kind of you go against some of that because that's kind of what happened in the Dolphins game. He was running, but you take what the defense gives you. But he has grown in his passing. I mean, passing TDs the last 3 weeks, 7, which is third in the NFL. Total QBR 85.8, which is second in the NFL. He's been able to develop. Obviously, he has some of those plays, but as a Bears fan, I sit back and after that interception, he came back and he had that run, right? So he did some great things, right? And so there were a lot of people on Twitter and Facebook saying, "Oh, it's a horrible loss," and I was not. I mean, yes, it kind of stinks to lose the Lions. I mean, the Packers know that as well, but for where I'm at in the Bears season, I want to see Justin Fields continue to grow. And as a quarterback, they're going to have those good and bad plays. And yes, he's got a lot of room to grow, but I still see as he continues to develop with the receivers, I think in Claypool, I think there's a lot to be happy about as a Bears fan, even in a loss.
Well, I think if they gave Jared Goff, Claypool, and Mooney in that tight end, I think he would have had 300 yards.
Whoa, okay. I don't disagree.
Justin Fields can't throw. He's going to be a good quarterback. He's going to be a good quarterback, but he can't throw.
What do you mean can't throw?
All right. He overthrows a lot of passes.
It's true.
A lot. He has no touch on the ball. That's one thing we had to teach Matthew, in the beginning. But he has no touch on the ball. Thankfully, he had Calvin Johnson, who's 6'5", and can go up and get it. But he didn't have any touch on the ball at one point. Everything was a bullet, That's what he does. And even when you go deep, it's a couple of deep shots he missed. I saw him even when he was playing good against the Patriots. A couple of deep shots. He always missing deep shots. He had to hit. Cole Kmet had to come back and get it for the 50-yard touchdown. My boy Kirby Joseph, I love him, but he he's such a It's like he just can't wait to jump. Like he just jumps a lot for no reason. That touchdown, that 50-yard touchdown that he got, he just dived. What the fuck?
This is some good stuff. So I'm all on kind of diving into Fields a little bit. So you had some thoughts on that too, MJ.
So here's the thing about Justin Fields, and my show Third Down Thursday that I do, my co-host is a huge Bears fan. So we talk plenty about the Bears and Justin Fields. So I'm well acquainted with the ups and downs of Justin Fields this year. So you mentioned his QBR the last few weeks. His QBR total this year is 11th in the NFL. So there are a lot of things, like you said, Gerard, he's missing some deep throws. His touch is not where it needs to be for an NFL quarterback. He's got a cannon of an arm, and he's got some incredible talent. Part of the reason he's been so bad is because dude is under pressure so much. The offensive line for the Bears has been terrible. And so that's one of the things the Lions, you mentioned if Jared Goff had those guys. The other thing about Jared Goff is he's got a pretty decent offensive line around him, and they have the running game to support it. The Bears running game has been good, but a lot of that is because of Justin Fields. So it's a weird dynamic where, David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert have not been able to produce the way that people thought they would coming into this year. And that's made it a lot harder on Justin Fields. And again, if you put Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, and now Chase Claypool onto other teams, they probably perform better. But, we've seen other quarterbacks significantly improve in their accuracy. Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa. There are cases where in a guy's third or fourth year, he's going to improve a lot with accuracy. I don't know if that happens with Justin Fields, but again, right now his floor seems to be 15th in the league passing and a really good rusher. And I think at least for the Bears' recent history of quarterbacks, they take that every day of the week.
Yeah.
I think Josh Allen is okay. I don't think he's that accurate, to be honest with you.
Oh,
He throws. He just does it. Like everybody's always wide open. He could have threw it. He could have dumped it down to Singletary. He want to go deep. He want to go for the touchdown. That's
Pat
why
P said not today, baby.
He did it against Miami. I mean, I think y'all over, like, he's great. But at the end of games, Josh Allen does have the tendency to do some dumb shit.
But that's not accuracy. I think he's a good accurate
he
QB.
just throws deep. He throws the ball deep.
He trusts his arm. He's like an old fart. He trusts it too much.
Yeah.
And he thinks he can make every play. And sometimes you need to dial it down a little bit.
He gets too excited.
Sometimes you can take the good with the bad, and those guys you just have to do it. Like I think every single team in the NFL except for Kansas City is probably going to want Josh Allen on their team. So you're going to take the good with the bad, and sometimes you're going to get the bad. Josh Allen, where he throws a red zone pick and he trusts it too much. You just hope he doesn't do those in the playoffs. And, but again, he's still, to me, he's I think it's him and Mahomes above everybody else by a long shot. So I don't really agree with that as far as him not being that accurate. He just makes mistakes because he tries too hard.
People are wide open, bro.
Not always.
Shelby, you had some comments about that?
Oh, I was going to say about Fields, because I remember back against the Vikings, I was like, I can see his confidence growing. I agree with everybody else. I don't think that he has the accuracy, but he is fun to watch. And I feel like as a Bears fan, you're used to Jay Cutler and the most boring offense that anything to you you're going to see and you're going to be like, oh, this is great, because you're actually seeing someone that's like fun to watch. He's definitely like getting more confident. He can run. He does remind me of Lamar. Do I think that he's going to become a threat? I don't know, but I think that anything really was an improvement for you guys, and clearly you're getting up there and you're getting more wins. And, with Green Bay, obviously we'll get to that, but with them kind of having that downward, I think that he could be something, but I just think that he needs to center his confidence rather than he gets a little sloppy and he kind of is more just like in the moment, because he is athletic, that he's just like, oh, let me just run it. And he doesn't have to focus on learning that accuracy.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes with continued reps, having the game action, and having the pieces around, and a lot of that's going to come with growth. I mean, when you look at Josh Allen, the trajectory obviously is there, and it's Josh Allen. He can make the plays, but you see that he sometimes, tries too hard. He wants to take on the world all himself. And, some of the great quarterbacks, they're able to do that, but able to kind of dial it back at the right time. And for me, when I look at Justin Fields, yeah, I mean, I went to the Houston Texans game and he was just missing some of the easy swing passes. And so you have a lot of that growth opportunity. But as a Bears fan, it's not just anything, but to have a quarterback that has the it factor, and we haven't had that. I mean, Jay Cutler is probably the most excited I've been for a quarterback, and he did a lot to the Packers. But when you look at kind of some of the intangibles that he has, the ceiling is definitely there. And as it continues to grow in the offense, I'm okay with these mistakes. I'm okay with the losses because as you talked about, MJ, I mean, the line is atrocious, and you have to have time. You have to be able to set your feet and find the passing windows, and so there's a lot that he can continue to grow on. And Tang Yang has a question. Yeah, I mean, I do trust now Ryan Poles. I trust this front office organization to develop him and put people around him, and it takes time. Obviously, when you look at some of these teams that are starting to kind of turn around, it takes time. People are all down on Jalen Hurts. I mean, until he's actually producing, right? So it takes that time and that accuracy. So I wanted to kind of obviously get. I didn't realize we're gonna have a lot of Bears hate tonight. Wow.
Well, Eberflus is coaching his ass off too.
He is.
I wouldn't say it's hate. I think it's more like
it's
keeping reality in check. Yeah.
Also, don't get your boy RG3 too. He ain't very big all that running. He's gonna get hurt. Okay, don't watch him.
Let's talk a little bit of reality here as well. Now the Packers. I think I was the only one last week that did pick the Packers to win.
I knew they was going to win. I did too.
Nothing pointed to them actually, winning, other than it just seemed like, okay, Rodgers was going to have a game versus McCarthy, and something was going to happen. And obviously now the emergence of Christian Watson, we'll talk about a little bit later if that was kind of real or mirage, but talk about that game a little bit, MJ, and what that means going forward for the season.
As far as what it means going forward for the season, it means it keeps them afloat for one more week. I mean, I declared before this game that the Packers were not going to make the playoffs. I mean, in my mind, there's like a 98% chance they don't make the playoffs. This team is not built the way they were built when Rodgers pulled out his relax line or his run the table line. And honestly, from everything I've seen from Rodgers, it doesn't look like he's primed and ready for a run like that, because he hasn't said anything. He's just said, yeah, we need to win games. Okay, thanks, Sherlock. Like that's not he's not acting like he did in those years where he's like, yeah, we're gonna do something special. So as far as what this means for the season, I mean, it keeps him afloat. In terms of the actual game itself, kind of going through that, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, Rodgers owns the Dallas Cowboys, whether it's home or away. Yeah. And that was the only thing. I mean, I predicted them to lose 31-20, the Packers. I didn't think they were going to win this football game, because on paper, the Dallas Cowboys should have won that football game with ease. Mm-hmm. And going into midway in the third quarter, they were winning that football game with ease. And I thought I was going to look really smart. And then the Cowboys did. And Mike McCarthy does what he likes to do. Instead of using Tony Pollard again and again, who averaged 6 yards a carry, he decided to sling it 45 times with Dak Prescott, which was just absolutely ludicrous, because everybody knows, no matter how bad he may be playing, the best way to beat Aaron Rodgers is keep the ball out of his hands.
Yep.
And the Dallas Cowboys did not do that. They made stupid coaching decisions. And you saw when Mike McCarthy went for it on fourth down late in that football game, slammed his headset into the turf. Aaron Rodgers didn't treat this as a special game. Mike McCarthy did, and his emotions got the best of him coaching, and that's what lost him the football game.
Cowboys can't stop the run either.
Very
Run
true.
on the Cowboys.
So, well, and then you have the emergence of Christian Watson. I mean, what was that? Is that going to be something kind of going forward, or I mean, was it just kind of Aaron Rodgers with a hot hand?
So Christian Watson, from everything I've heard, I've talked to plenty of people in Green Bay, plenty of beat writers, everybody who watches practice, actually sees him on a day-to-day basis. I've heard so many people say that is the fastest guy I've ever seen on a football field. So that's the reason the Packers wanted to move back into the first round in the draft in April to get Christian Watson. The Vikings wouldn't let them, which was smart. The Vikings would not let them take, I believe, the 32nd pick, and they didn't want to do a deal. The Packers ended up still getting Watson early in the second round, but they were willing to spend first-round money and extra capital to go get the guy. And the thing that stood out to me is he's not just fast. He finally did an interview, like a full extended interview with the media this week, and he can recall like every single thing about plays going back to his first year at North Dakota State. That's something you don't normally see out of wide receivers. Normally that's a quarterback thing where they can recall plays from years ago, and Christian Watson is able to do that. So I think he's an extremely talented football player. The only issue is he can't stay on the field right now. He's just had a bunch of nagging injuries, and I've seen so many Packers wide receivers that have been super talented and were unable to make it because of things like that. So I don't know. The only glorifying thing for Watson after this game really is that Aaron Rodgers seems to trust him, because that's the biggest, most annoying, stupid thing with Aaron Rodgers is he doesn't trust rookies. And so I would hope after 3 touchdowns in a game, you trust the guy.
That's all you got.
Yes, literally. That's all he got. So
and Dobbs is out now too, right?
Yep. Dobbs is out for a little while. And I've gone on plenty of rants this year, both fan-wise and journalist-wise. Aaron Rodgers, for years, has been able to not throw to rookie wide receivers because, like, when Devontae Adams was coming up, he still had Jordy Nelson. When Jordy Nelson was coming up, he still had Greg Jennings. I mean, I don't have to preach that to all the NFC North fans here. So, exactly. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have that luxury anymore. And I think it's taken him, unfortunately, half of the NFL season to figure out, oh, no, I can't win games by only throwing to Allen Lazard and Robert Tonyan. As quality NFL players as they may be, I need something a little bit more dynamic. That's Christian Watson. That's Romeo Dobbs. So unfortunately, with Dobbs out, if Watson doesn't go off like this every game, I still don't think the Packers win football games right now because there's so many other issues with that team. I really think Watson needs to just pop off the rest of this year if the Packers got any shot.
Well, let's kind of move into the Thursday night football game, the Titans at Packers. When you look at it, what are some of the keys that you see? Here's a few that I kind of found, but what are some things that you see for this game, MJ? And then do you have them winning it?
So I actually do think the Packers will win this football game. The biggest reason being the Tennessee defense is just so god-awful. They have been so bad this year. And trust me, I am terrified to the core of my being about Derrick Henry just rolling through the Packers defense. But, they came to Green Bay a couple years ago, later in the year in the cold. That's when A.J. Dillon had his breakout game, a couple touchdowns in the snow. I don't believe it's going to be snowing tomorrow night, so it's a little bit different circumstances. But the Packers do have a game plan and a blueprint to beat Tennessee at home in the cold. I think Watson will be huge, but really, the Packers provided themselves somewhat of a blueprint last week on how to win. You go give the ball to Aaron Jones a bunch, and you're going to take your deep shots off play action. I don't need Aaron Rodgers going 5 wide. I don't need Aaron Rodgers playing hero ball. At this point in his career, not to say he can't be that guy, but for the Packers to actually have any shot at making the playoffs or making any noise, he really needs to buy into that system. And I think he's gotten a little too comfortable with Matt LaFleur and a little too comfortable checking out of way too many plays and getting a little bit outside the bounds of that offense.
Yeah, I mean, do you make it of anything of that sideline spat or anything?
Oh, yes, I do. Aaron Rodgers has not been happy with the play calling. And there are other people in the Green Bay locker room that have not been happy with the play calling. They want the ball run a lot more. The offensive line wants the ball run a lot more. And Aaron Rodgers keeps checking off of the runs because he thinks he can make things happen, which I understand. Dude, you're the 4-time NFL MVP. There's no reason he shouldn't have the right to make checks at the line of scrimmage. He's just doing it a little too much. And reminding Packers fans a little bit too much of 2017, 2018, when he was just so inaccurate with his deep ball. He got it back and won 2 MVPs because of Matt LaFleur's offense. I'm not taking credit away from Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, I can say very confidently that if Matt LaFleur doesn't bring that type of offense to Green Bay, Rodgers doesn't win back-to-back MVPs.
Wow. And this should be an interesting game as well with some of the key Titan defense starters out as well.
Yes, they're hurting on defense. And Green Bay is hurting on defense as well. Devontae Campbell won't be playing. There are plenty of Rashawn Gary is on IR for the rest of the year with an ACL. So the Packers are hurting on defense. The Titans are hurting on defense. In terms of the pass defense, the Packers are still on top of it. So that's where, I mean, the Packers should have confidence in their pass defense. I'm not concerned about Ryan Tannehill. He's off the injury report, which I'm honestly happy about because I just had a weird feeling about Malik Willis playing. I don't know why. I know what I'm getting facing Ryan Tannehill, right? So, you know, they're going to run the football a lot. They're going to run the football like 40 times. So be prepared for it, stack the box, and let's play some physical Lambeau football.
So you're not afraid of like Treylon Burks coming back or anything like that, and obviously any of the other Titans receivers, yeah.
No, I'm not worried whatsoever. As long as as long as Joe Barry doesn't get stupid and play some super soft cover 4 all day, like as long as they just put a little bit of effort into stopping Burks, they should be perfectly fine on that end. I'm just worried about the massive 250-pound man barreling down at him every time.
Well, speaking of, a team that's, barreling down on possibly a Super Bowl, we won't get there yet, but let's go ahead and talk about Week 11 keys, Cowboys at the Vikings. So, Shelby, when you kind of look at this game, are you worried at all by kind of a letdown after the big Bills win?
Again, I always have to say it. I'm wondering when the pin is going to drop, right? Because this is insane that we're on a 7-game winning streak. I would say watching the Cowboys-Packers game gives me hope just because if there's a team that is going to be able to pull out an upset this year, it is the Vikings. Also, coming off of the biggest away win that we've had in years, and now we're back at home. We're feeling good. We're feeling confident. I think that it's going to be really good for us. I think that this is probably going to be one of the most even games. I think that our offensive line, this is the first year in a long time that we've actually had an offensive line. Darisaw is, the best offensive lineman right now, and that's going to be major considering the Cowboys have, the best pass rush in the league, but we have the second best. So that's why it's like Zadarius Smith, if he can, and now Hunter's getting back in there, if he can stay on Dak, Ezekiel has been out, and then obviously, what was I going to say? Cook is back in action, and they have not a very good run defense.
Not at all.
Not at all. And our offense, look, at the end of the day, I would say the biggest thing that I'm worried about from the Cowboys would be putting pressure on Kirk. But at this time, Kirk has been able to, even if he's having pressure, him and Jefferson have such a good connection at this point that quite literally, we've seen it. He can just chalk that shit up, and somehow it's working for him. And not only does he just have Jefferson, now he has Hawkinson, which he has a great seemingly relationship, and it's only going to get better from here. We still have Thielen. We have Cook. Our offense is crazy. And then on top of that, Peterson and Smith, are making plays. Our defense is being able to make crazy plays when necessary. And again, the biggest thing is the fact that we're at home. So, but them coming off a loss is probably my only fear at this point, just because they're going to be.
Y'all be all right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I'm really not too worried about it, but.
Yeah, no, y'all be all right.
Speaking about being worried, Dave, I mean, are you worried about the Vikings run defense then? I mean, when you look at, I mean, whether Zeke comes back, it's almost the Cowboys have done better without Zeke in there. Are you worried about Pollard at all?
Yeah, I'm worried about Pollard. I hope Zeke comes back because he's not as good as Pollard right now. I don't think the run defense is porous. I think they're average, middle of the pack. I don't know those stats on it, but they're decent. Yes, I think Pollard's going to be he's a good player. What I worry about is, like Shelby said, we won 7 in a row. The best teams in NFL history rarely win 8, 9 in a row. So Dallas is a good team. I am glad that we are home again because we play better at home. But Dallas is coming off of a loss that they probably feel like they should have won. So we're running a high. I remember after the miracle, everyone thought we were going to the Super Bowl. We got our ass kicked. So they got to come down from that high, get focused again, and just play their game. And I think that we're a better team than Dallas, but Dallas isn't a slouch, and it should be a good game.
We talk about, just because I did look up the stats on our run defense, we do tend to stop the running backs. What we're bad at is those little throws and then running from there. That is what we have, this weird thing where our zone defense, we've always been better on like man-to-man and stuff like that. If they do those like little throws off to the side and the guy runs from there, that's where we tend to do a bad job. The actual running backs, we seem to do better stopping them at the line. So hopefully we'll keep that up.
Gerard, did you have some thoughts on that? You were kind of
Well, I think you guys will be all right. You got too many weapons for them. I don't think they can stop you. Like,
I hope they put Diggs on Jefferson all game. That's what I hope.
He gonna tear.
I know he will. I hope
he gonna tear that young man up, man. He's the Cowboys are they constantly beat sorry teams and end up with good records, and then when they finally play somebody, they lose every time. Dak Prescott cannot win a big game to save his life. Period.
I don't know if it's Dak. Like I just think regardless,
he threw it straight to a third straight safety twice, straight to him.
But what I'd like to see, like, and I'm not by any means like a Dak defender, but I've just been, and I was upset when the Packers fired McCarthy because I just think he is one of the worst coaches. And as a coach, I mean, it does matter. You want the coach to put your players in the best possible place to make plays. And does he do that? I don't think so. But so it'd be interesting to kind of go back and look at that. But Dallas, I mean, they have the talent here, but I mean, the Vikings, I mean, they're legit. So
do they though?
I do worry about
the Cowboys got a good defense.
Yeah,
they got a good pass rush. Hold up, they got a good pass rush.
And I was gonna say, so Darisaw had a concussion last week and he came out. If he can't play, it could be an issue. I really hope Darisaw's back because he's been amazing. O'Neal's great, so they are gonna stop Parsons and those guys.
If going to dice them up,
I think we can run the ball. If they stick to the run, we should be okay. But if Darisaw's out and they can get pressure on Cousins, that would be my main issue.
Yeah, I would say the one thing about, and you know what? Oh gosh, I haven't been wanting to say it because I'm so worried it's gonna jinx it. But one of the main reasons that the Vikings are doing so well this year is everyone has been like, oh, it's because you're winning against the third string quarterback, or these people have injuries and these people have injuries. At the end of the day, the people that win the Super Bowl are the people that didn't have to worry about injuries. Like, the Vikings are having that luck. Let me knock on some wood here.
Hold on.
but it's just that is what it comes down to. Darisaw would be a huge loss for us in this game, especially. This is the game that we can't have him out, obviously, because of that pass rush. But yeah, I think the Vikings, we just have so many weapons, and this year has been the year that all of those weapons are coming together at once.
Yeah, I got weapons. I know it was gonna be like this. I told you last time we talked, y'all. Like I said, I'm scared of the Vikings. So they got that Rams coach. It's gonna get real crazy out there. I would like Hopkins. Y'all took him off our hands. Thank God. Notice three touchdowns by 3 different tight ends since he left.
So you were all right with the Hockenson trade?
I was super happy we got rid of Hockenson.
Wow.
Because Amon-Ra and him do the same thing. And Amon-Ra knows how to get open. TJ Hawkins has to be wide open. You know,
that's not true with our offense. He's been killing it, and he's been covered.
Did he get the ball in the 4th quarter?
He got a 4th and 6th play that kept the last drive alive. Yes, he got the ball.
You're right. He don't do that. He don't normally
for
do that.
Detroit. That's because it's Detroit.
I saw him jumping over people the other day. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man.
He did do that one time on the sideline. So
yeah, like, get the fuck out of here.
Maybe he's that excited to get out of Detroit, like most players, like Matthew Stafford, right?
And I was so happy we got rid of him. Ebron. Oh, get out of here. Go be good for somebody else.
You know, if
go be good for somebody else.
If the trend is on point here, the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl because once you leave the Lions, you win the Super Bowl, right?
No, only Matthew. But Matthew was special. I told you. I was to tell people all the time. Nah, it's us. It's not him.
Let's go ahead and talk a little. Let's talk a little bit of Lions here. Obviously, the Lions are at the surprising Giants. Talk about that game a little bit. We don't usually get into a lot of Lions stuff, so it's great to have you here, Gerard. And so it's great to kind of like get into it more. So, do you see the Lions winning this game, and what are some keys for this game?
I see it as winnable. I don't see us winning. I see it as winnable. And the only reason why I say that is because I don't think they have any receivers that'll threaten us, like with speed or anything. That's our weakness. Like we got Akuda, and that's it. You know what I mean? Kirby Joseph, he'll be like super good one week, and then he'll do that, be the worst player, whatever they call that, PFF grade last week for us on defense. So it's like, I think if we stack the box, Barkley gonna get his, but Barkley is the number 1 rusher, the number 1 receiver. I just don't see them really beating us. If they do, it's like 16-13 because Jared Goff is gonna get scary. You know what I mean? But
you're not worried about like Wan'Dale Robinson at all?
Huh?
Not worried about Wan'Dale Robinson at all?
No, not one bit. I'm not really worried about anybody but Saquon. Like that's it.
It's Saquon's team, and everybody else is just secondary. So right. He's the guy you got to shut down. Like you want Daniel Jones to like throw the ball on you. Like that's what you want.
Right. So that's all I'm really worried about. Like I'm worried about Daniel Jones running on us. That's our problem. When them quarterbacks start running, we just get goofy. 3rd and 17, getting converted with quarterbacks running. Like everybody kills us with the quarterbacks. Kills us with the legs. Like we got to get off the field on 3rd down. 3rd and longs, like we play well, but it's just we let the quarterback, get out, and there's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do.
It's interesting. Like I feel like the Giants kind of have this feel, and I know we're an NFC North podcast here, but when you look at the Giants, like I looked at that game as well as the Bears, and this was before Claypool, before all this stuff, and I thought it was winnable. And I actually had interviewed a Giants podcaster, and he had said the other thing when the schedule came out, he looked at the Bears, and that was winnable, right? So when you look at the Giants, I mean, they seem to be, you got Saquon. What else? Receiver wise,
they've been getting lucky too.
Well, they're getting lucky, but I mean, obviously, the Bears had Velus Jones drop that, ball, but also when you look at those things, when you have a team that's well coached in all phases, that's what happens. And obviously, you look at the Packers, and bring you back into this, MJ. When you have a good team in all phases, those things they look like luck, and end up, it's good coaching. And so, I mean, obviously that happened, Packers, 49ers in the playoffs, right? You had a great team all around, you had an opportunity, but there's that one phase. And so when you look at the Giants, I mean, they could win this game. I mean, talk a little bit about that, MJ, about kind of all the phases when you have a team that you're facing. It looks like it's a winnable game, but maybe they're well coached.
It's amazing how much a good special teams and just some sound situational coaching can do for you, because the NFL right now specifically is so close. I mean, you're seeing teams like the Giants, the Seahawks, that were not supposed to be top NFL teams are winning football games, and it's because of really good coaching. You can point to decisions Brian Dable and Pete Carroll have made that are winning football games. It's not because Daniel Jones and Geno Smith are just going off and putting up incredible numbers. It's because they're playing sound football, they're not making mistakes, and their coaches are not making mistakes. To your point, I mean, Packers fans know plenty about special teams screwing over their team. And it's really just amazing how a couple field position flips, not making mistakes on punt returns. Packers finally cut Amari Rodgers, who's been dropping punts like a madman for the last 2 years, which is fantastic. But yeah, that's something that the Giants do really well, is they're not making mistakes for the most part. An interception here and there. They're not turning the football over very much, and they're just playing really sound football. So, I mean, against a Lions defense that has been prone to put up some points, I'm not as concerned. But I do think at this point in time, they have the overall edge. But obviously, the Lions have a dynamic offense that can go off whenever they want to. So I think it'll be a very close game.
Talk about like coaching then, Gerard. I mean, do you think, what are you hearing kind of fan wise? Do you think the Lions keep the coach after this year?
Lions fans wanted to fire Campbell 3 weeks ago. We got one off, then we got another one off, and I'm not buying the stock yet. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna, I don't think. All I need him to do is kick field goals. Just take the 3. You know what I'm saying? Take the fucking 3. God damn. You know how many games we lost by 3? Take the 3. And
Vikings are used to that. So
the last 2 weeks, he took the 3, and we won by 1. We won by 4 the other day, 2 weeks ago. Kick the field goal. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't go for it on 4th down all the time. Everybody knows that's what you're gonna do. He's gonna go for it this week against the Giants, because the Giants are like 66%. You can get conversion on 4th down on them. So he's going to go for it because he's like a fake analytics guy, but he's really not. You know what I'm saying? He portrays this, he knows football guy, but he's nothing but a, let's run the ball 1,000 times. Let's get a ball to Jamal Williams and just run. I don't really like the way Swift runs, but Swift's our most explosive player. Like, I'm just going to throw it to him. Let's not run him. Like, he just wants to beat everybody up. I don't think we got the guards for that. Our guards aren't big. We got a 6'10" guard. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, what's happening? What's happening between like Swift and Williams? I mean, is Swift not healthy or what?
He's not healthy. He's okay. He's not healthy. He I think that he thinks he's ready, but I think we have the schedule is getting a little easier now, and I think that he thinks that he wants to save him maybe for Thanksgiving to give him a full load. You know what I'm saying? And if we start winning a couple games, and we might be, because everybody's losing. I think we're like 1.5 games out of the wild card race. So I think that's how he's thinking. You know what I mean? Like, let's just, keep him healthy. Let's not give him too much. Like, he scored a touchdown last. He was 6 carries for 6 yards. He wasn't that effective last week. So let's just hold him off for a little while until we really need him. And, but it was Jamal Williams game, run between the tackles. Let's beat him up a little bit, hold on to the ball. Like, it's going to be the same thing against the Giants this week, until, they're going to throw, dump outs to Swift a lot. That's it. Just keep him healthy, keep him in space so he doesn't take a lot of, punishment, because he gets hurt every year, the shoulder, every year, same thing. So just keep him healthy. He wants to play, but I don't think he's ready yet. He's not as fast as he doesn't look as fast as he normally does. So just protect him for a little while. Wait
Oh,
till
it's
that
interesting.
man come.
It's
Jameis
interesting.
Winston.
You talked
Yeah.
about, kind of the playoff picture and thinking of the Lions kind of in the playoff picture, but you never know what can happen. Obviously, a win here or there. But one thing I did want to do before, we finished here, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Vikings and the Packers schedules, and just obviously, MJ, you said you don't think that Packers are going to get to the playoffs, and we'll get to that in a second. I want to obviously we'll go to the Vikings here first. When you look at the schedule, Shelby, do you, and I know you don't like to do this, but I mean, how many more losses do you think the Vikings, I mean, we don't know for sure, right? But when you look at this schedule, Cowboys, Patriots, I mean, there's a lot of winnable games here, right?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, I thought we were going to be 12-5. But a lot of those games that I thought we were going to lose, we've won now. I think the Cowboys, I'm definitely a little worried about. Maybe the Jets after this year has been interesting. Not worried about, really the biggest thing for the playoffs is I'm not really worried about any of the NFC North teams right now, to be honest with you. Okay, I mean, maybe because I was at that Lions game and I was stressed. But I think, again, now that we've won 8 in a row, it is just so hard because I do want to remain realistic. But I think maybe 2 or 3 losses.
Oh, nah, I don't see it. I'm looking at the schedule now. Y'all, the Cowboys game is basically the only tough game you got left.
Just trying to be realistic.
That's
the
good.
Jets. We look at the Jets. I think the Giants are a little bit sneaky good.
Giants are a solid team.
And this always happens. And maybe it won't even matter at the end of the season. At the Bears, the Bears have done that in recent memory that I know of. I think when AP was playing, actually, maybe 12, 13 years ago, and it didn't matter for the Packers or for the Vikings, and the Bears won at the end of the season. So
that's
you never
true.
know.
I do
The
think
Lions
that
always play us tough. The Packers, at Green Bay is not going to be easy.
Yeah, I think our biggest thing right now is that we have 5 out of the next 6 games are home games. But I am always worried about Soldier Field. Lambeau, we've actually been playing pretty good at the last couple of years, but there's just something about that last game of the season against the Bears that, we just, we don't win.
We're gonna go 15-2. Our only other loss is gonna be at Chicago after we clinch the home field advantage.
Hey.
Yeah, because I also think that's a lot of the times our starters don't play. No, that's true.
Actually. Yeah.
Our starters don't play against the Bears usually, especially if we do clinch that first or second seed. That's one of the only games that Kirk has missed. I don't see them playing Jefferson. I don't see them playing Kirk. So that's true. That could be a big thing we lose.
I don't want to go into the playoffs with a 16-game winning streak. That would be
me neither.
15-game winning streak. That'd be almost like being undefeated. Just way too much pressure.
Yeah, I agree.
Vikings have done that before, right?
Well, that's what the Eagles said.
I know how it was. I know how it finished.
You know that the Eagles, I can't remember who it was in an interview, but he was like, I'm glad we lost because
it relieves some pressure. It really does.
Yeah, and the fans needed to come back down to earth. And also you need that little bit of adversity. At the end of the day, the Vikings, one of the biggest reasons I think we're doing well is because every game has been close. We do better when we're under pressure. This Cowboys game is a game that I do think is our hardest. And I'm like you always say with the Bears, I just want a good game. And that's what we've gotten every game. So
this is an opportunity to win.
To have pieces and weapons that are better than the other guy. So that's what's pushing y'all over the top. You got Jefferson, he's better than everybody else. And you got Cooks, who's better than everybody else. So if you let them hang around, something's gonna happen. I
heard
nothing.
I heard someone talking on, I think, NFL Network, and they were talking about the Vikings, and they said they got stud playmakers everywhere you need them. And
Right.
even if you have, a bad game, a bad shit, whatever, they have Justin Jefferson, who's better, like you said, better than everybody else. You can throw him the ball and he's going to make a play. Cook, same thing. A defense, you got Zadarius Smith. He can change the game. Danielle Hunter, he can change the game. Harrison Smith's a great safety. He's a little older. Patrick Pearson, these guys aren't in their prime, but they're making plays because they're smart.
Right. Yeah.
And they got guys that are smart. They're not, I don't know what the defense is ranked as far as yardage because they're getting crushed like yardage wise. But when it comes down to it in the red zone, they're getting turnovers or they're stopping these guys. And that's making the difference. The second half of these games, I don't know how they're just like they gave up 6 points to Buffalo, in the entire second half and overtime. They're just bogging down when they need to. And I saw that they're second in turnovers. So they're getting turnovers when they need them. And the offense is making key drives when you need it. Like you said, throw the fucking ball to Jefferson. He's gonna probably catch it. I remember the drive in overtime where he was double covered on the corner and he still threw it and he caught it. And I was just like, how? Like
pass right there.
That's like just like how. So like you said, like they're not maybe the best team, but they have some of the best players that can make plays when you need them, and that's what you need. You need a couple of studs that are better than everybody else if you want to go deep in the playoffs, and I think they have that good mix to
just don't play the Eagles. The Eagles,
you know what? I don't like Philly and I don't like San Francisco, man. Both those teams scare me, to be honest.
Yeah, they scare me.
Yeah. Well, talking about obviously a team that maybe doesn't scare a lot of teams right now, the Packers. All right, so I got to get my digs in here, fair. MJ. And so when you look at the schedule, I mean, obviously, first of all, what did you think that it was going to be? Like a 14-3 kind of record at the beginning of the season. I mean, and then have you had to kind of adjust? Yeah.
He did?
Yeah, I did. I did. I mean, because when you looked at it, there was a lot of hope about Watson and Dobbs. There was just a lot of everybody thought Randall Cobb would have way more of an impact. He's really beginning to show his age. And, there was nothing to show that Rodgers was going to stop his scorched earth play that he had been on the last 2 years. And all of a sudden, he's reverted to old footwork. He's reverted to old mental tendencies. He's reverted to old decision making. And so it's shot Green Bay in the foot. And then there have been some play calling issues. The offensive line hasn't been able to stay healthy. Speaking about, what Shelby talked about earlier with injuries, being just huge for any NFL team trying to make a run. The special teams with Rich Bisaccia has not been as good as everybody thought it would be. Honestly, at this point, I think he's a better head coach than he is a special teams coach, given the Packers special teams was worse in the league. So it's hard to bring that up from just no foundation whatsoever. But yeah, I thought that this team would be way better than they are right now. And at this point, a 9-8 finish would be huge for this team.
Even without Tay? Even without Tay, you thought you'd be 12? He only threw to Devontae Adams the last 3 years.
Oh, I know. And Devontae Adams is feeling some of that on a day-to-day basis as well.
Well, we talked about it on this podcast ahead of time, and everybody, Aaron Rodgers has done it before. He's that, he's won a gazillion MVPs, right? And so everyone was giving him the benefit of the doubt. And I was, the one that said, 8 wins and people just kind of like, no way, you're crazy. But yeah, I was worried about the receivers too. I was with you, Gerard. And when you look at it, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's that gifted. He's supposed to make players better. And we've talked about this, comparing him to, other quarterbacks as well, but you're just not having that from him then.
The biggest issue, and I wrote about this before the season, and I didn't even take my own advice enough because people were getting so hyped up about Romeo Doubs. And so I did a little digging, kind of what I mentioned earlier about how there's always been a transition from star wide receiver to star wide receiver for the Packers. And I was trying to figure out how much of Devontae Adams being gone and there not being a true number one in Green Bay, how much would that help Romeo Doubs? And how much would that screw over Aaron Rodgers? I severely underestimated, and I think almost everybody did, how much that would screw over Aaron Rodgers Because if you remember in 2016, Packers went to the NFC Championship game against the Arizona Cardinals, went to overtime. Jeff Janis in that game was the Packers' #1 receiver. And the only reason anybody knows who Jeff Janis is because he caught a Hail Mary in that game that you probably see on some YouTube highlights sometimes. But, I've seen Rodgers go super far in a season with some pretty bad players when injuries occurred. And I thought, and I think everybody thought, that is some magic he could pull out again. And I don't know if it's skill declining. I mean, you can point to a million different things, but it's just not there.
Jeff Janis was not a rookie. And he had been underneath all those beasts of all those.
Oh, yeah, he'd been there. That was his third year.
Were playing their asses off for him.
Oh, yeah. Jeff Janis, Jared Abbrederis, Tyler Davis. They had all been there under Nelson, Jones, Jennings, all of them.
These rookies had nobody but Cobb.
Correct. They had a training camp with Cobb and Lazard.
Right.
There's only so much you can do there.
Exactly.
When you look at the schedule, then MJ, how many more conceivably wins do the Packers have here? I mean, you said 9 and 8, so that would be another 5 wins, right?
Yeah. My prediction would be 7 and 10 at this point.
Yeah,
I think they can pull out a win against Titans, Bears, and
Rams.
I'm moving for the Packers.
Yeah, probably Rams, and then maybe
please beat the Eagles.
I don't think they beat the Eagles. I don't think they beat the Dolphins, and then
they'll beat us in Green Bay.
That's what I was thinking is probably pull that one out. But I don't think they beat the Vikings either, because Dalvin Cook just loves for running for 200 in Lambeau.
Tell you what, and I said this over and over again, I'm not measuring the season for the Bears wins or losses. They could lose every game the rest of the season except that Packer game, and that's just one of those games.
And you would be overjoyed.
Overjoyed, yes. And the Lions won. I know there were a lot of people that are upset. This is a horrible loss. No, I'm looking at that Packer game. I want to kick the Packers when they're down, right? And that's when you have a great player. And this comes back to why I like Justin Fields, right? Because I think he has that it factor. And when you have a player, when you have a team that's down, you want to try to keep them down, right? And so the Packers are down, and this is the opportunity at Soldier Field. It'll be obviously right before the Packers bye, and you kind of look at that. So it'll be interesting to see. Aaron Rodgers, he's been able to get up 4 games, and just kind of at least maybe the change in the guard in the NFC North. Obviously, the Vikings are going to be up there, but when you look at kind of the future, that's going to be an interesting game going forward. If the Packers would lose to the Bears, I mean, what do you think that means? Kind of going forward for Rodgers.
I have been saying this since week. They lost to the Giants week 5. I've been saying this since week 5. If the Packers lose that Bears game, Jordan Love starts against the Rams.
Wow.
No chance.
No.
Does that mean
I don't think they'll do that.
There is, and I've been saying this, there is a lot of trouble in that organization that is masked because everybody's just freaking out about Aaron Rodgers. It appears that Rodgers is checked out, at least from what I can tell. And that contract means nothing. He'll leave whenever he wants to leave.
Do you think they're going to get rid of him? They can't get rid of him.
Not for $50 million. Hell,
that's what I'm saying.
You really don't think that some mid-tier team? I don't even know off the top of my head, but you really think if they put out there Aaron Rodgers is available, that exactly, the Colts aren't going to come calling? If the Colts offered the Stafford package for Aaron Rodgers, I would take it in a heartbeat. I wouldn't be mad to see him in the AFC.
Colts are dumb enough, I think, to do that the way they've.
I think so. If you look at the Colts, the Steelers, the Titans, the Texans,
I just don't know if he would go.
AFC.
I don't think he would go to the AFC though, because the
Mm-hmm.
AFC is so stacked. Like
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers, again, everything comes down to his ego, and I don't think he would go to the AFC where he knows there's all these young quarterbacks that he's just not going to be able to beat. Like, I just don't think it's realistic for him.
That's why he retired.
Yeah.
And I don't think Ursay
Exactly.
would do it.
He
I don't
would,
think
he
Ursay
would pull the
do it
Gronk.
for $50 million. You know what I mean? I just don't think he'd do it.
Yeah, he's coming back. He's gonna get that money.
That's a lot.
I don't know. Aaron Rodgers
think.
has proven that we don't know what's going on in his brain.
Yeah,
Like,
he has proven he's
no-
selfish. Yes.
Very.
Yeah. So I'm just saying I don't put it past him, and I don't put it past. I mean, let me just say this: the Packers were not afraid to draft Jordan Love with the intent of Aaron Rodgers being gone very soon, and so I don't think in any sense they would be afraid to then start Jordan Love, because if the Packers lose to the Bears at that point in the season after their bye week, they're out of playoff contention. No shot. They have to win that game if they want to make the playoffs. And so if they're out of playoff contention, there's no reason not to play Jordan Love.
But you talk about like Rodgers being selfish, though. Would Rodgers want to play to get the records? I mean, does he care about records?
Well, we know he cares.
I don't think, yeah, he cares, but I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I think, you know, Goody, LaFleur, Mark Murphy, they've proven that they only care about Rodgers' opinions so much. They only care when he was winning MVPs. They didn't.
But I
care
also
when
think
he
they're
wasn't playing
scared of
well.
him.
They were scared of him because he was playing at a historic level. They
Yeah.
weren't scared of him when he threw 25 touchdowns and 2 picks in 2019, and they're not scared of him right now.
It's really, I feel like it's an interesting point. Like they kind of like, you know, whatever's happened. If they called his bluff to say, okay, yep, we're going to give you the money. You don't need Tay, do it.
Yeah.
And then it's on you. If this screws up, then they can, you know, the fans are not as much against, you know, him.
Right.
Yeah, we can move on. It's time to move on.
And it would not be hard for, again, a team like the Colts, for example, to be like, okay, here's what we're going to do. They get rid of Matt Ryan. We're going to split Aaron Rodgers' money. Take some of the cap hit off of the Packers. They're going to split that for a little bit. And then, you know, that's the Colts' problem. The Colts are dumb enough to do that. I know that for a fact. So there are plenty of scenarios where Aaron Rodgers leaves. We've seen it with plenty of historically good quarterbacks. It's not that Aaron Rodgers is so attached to Green Bay that he doesn't want to leave. It's that this has been his best shot at winning.
Yeah.
For the most part, forever. And so, again, I don't think in any sense that the Packers are scared of him. I don't think that they're afraid to make some sort of drastic move. I mean, if he keeps playing like he did last Sunday against the Cowboys, no, I don't think that happens.
That's what I'm saying. If he plays good again, if they play good against the Titans tomorrow, and then they play good again, like if they win 3 straight, then and then receivers get confident, and Watson learns how to Sammy learns how to catch again. They can get a little spooky over there. For real.
But I also know that if the Packers lose to the Titans, Eagles, and Bears, then there's going to be trouble in paradise.
He owns the Bears. It's not happening.
Hey,
probably not. But
you gotta love Tang Yang here. Colts trade for Rodgers to be the next head coach. I know
he'd be an asshole as a head coach.
He'd be like Jordan.
Oh my gosh!
Like I love Jordan. Jordan is the GOAT, but Jordan was no head coach. You can't when you have a player that caliber. But I tell you what, this has been amazing. Great stuff from everyone. Where can everyone find you again, MJ?
MJ Hurley TDT on Twitter. You should be able to find everything from there.
And thanks again, Gerard. Where can everyone find you?
7th letter 4 on Twitter. 7th letter on Instagram. Same OG on Facebook. Los Angeles Raiders, Detroit Lions Sports Radio on Twitter as well.
Or is it Las Vegas?
Yeah, whatever.
Las Vegas.
Fuck them. Fuck the Raiders.
Those have to be fun podcasts with you.
Oh my God, man. I'm about to kill them in a minute as soon as I get off with you.
Love it. Dave, where can everyone find you again?
at Viking Dave 18 on Twitter, and Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast.
Very nice. And Shelby.
Shelby Tweten everywhere.
Awesome. And everyone can find me NFL Updated. Thanks again, everyone. Like, subscribe. Great stuff, everyone. And going to be an interesting end of the season. And we'll see if the Vikings are going to keep going.
Woo!
Go.
Let's go.
Once again, it's been the Freezin for NFC North Podcast. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
All right, y'all.
Thank you.
Take it easy. Be safe.
Bye.